What's going on? This is your man, John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And again, we're still going on with the divisional rounds. And right now, we're going to be working on the NFC West and the NFC East. Back again is my friend, my buddy, my brother, Jeremiah Street. So this time, we're working on the NFC West and the NFC East. So because I'm the East fan, I'll do the East first, but we'll do the NFC West first. So you're going to get the first one. So who's your fourth or your bottom team in the NFC West?
The bottom team was pretty easy for me. They bottomed out last year. They may not bottom out this year, but I'm thinking they're gonna still bottom out. Even though with their additions, I got the Arizona Cardinals. I got the Cardinals down because they missed the playoffs last year. They did miss the playoffs last year. They decided to tighten up their run defense. They brought Calais Campbell back. That dude, for some reason, I feel like he's been in the NFL for about 50 years, man. But for some reason, he's still doing it. He's still doing it. They brought back some pieces to stop their run defense. My biggest thing is about Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. Their connection, man. Because Kyler Murray, he's another one of those quarterbacks that make their money by scrambling. And Marvin Harrison Jr. can definitely benefit for someone that can that normally sits in the pocket that can make sure he finishes his route and then throwing the ball on time.
Right.
But Kyler Murray, he about my height back there playing, but he's a whole lot more athletic than I
am. So again, I think that I'm gonna have a lot of fans hating me.
We got another one.
I think that a lot of these fans minds are gonna be blown, and I can hear them cussing me out already. My number 14 is the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh.
Now, here's my reasoning for this. You've made a lot of changes this year, especially offensively. No Debo. Brandon Ayuk comes back, but what type of Ayuk are you going to get back? You're going to go with Pearsall and Jawan Jennings as basically your starting core of receivers. You do got George Kittle. I think we're going to see the biggest regression we've ever seen in a quarterback with Brock Purdy. I think what we're going to see is offensively, we're going to see a team basically trying to figure it out. I think that when it came down to it, Kyle Shanahan should have drafted Jalen Milroe, because I think that would have given his team an opportunity, especially that offense. That offense has been built for a dual threat quarterback. And since he's from his time in Atlanta all the way up until now, maybe even his time in Cleveland, he's only dealt with pocket passers, and he's seen his offense be less successful and less effective because of the fact that he doesn't have that quarterback that is also a threat with it as well. And because of that, I think the 49ers are going to really, really regress this year. Defensively, Dre Greenlaw is gone. You basically revamped a lot of your defensive side of the ball. You got some guys who are returning, but you don't have a lot of guys returning. It's hard for me to believe that the team that we saw struggle last year is not going to be the same team that's going to end up struggling this year. So for me, the San Francisco 49ers are at the bottom. Who's your number 3?
Number 3 was a little bit of battle for me too, also. But I stuck it out with the Seahawks. Obviously they have Sam Darnold now. I don't think he's pretty much a big upgrade to Geno Smith. Uh, they did pick up DeMarcus Lawrence and Cooper Cup, but if Cooper Cup can turn back into what was it? When did the Rams win the Super Bowl? 2021, 2022, 2021, something like around there. If he can turn to that Cooper Cup, all right, I think Sam Darnold can be working with something. What people don't realize about Sam Darnold, his strength is he can run. He can actually run. He can actually tote the ball and run. He's faster than what people think. But the thing is about him, once he gets tapped one time, you say good night to the rest of that game. You can say good night for the rest of your game. So that's where I'm at with that. Seahawks number 3. They got a good home. They got a good home base. They got a good crowd. I've been there. The crowd is crazy whenever they are on the winning side. They do have that 12th man. So, but I'm putting it all in the quarterback's hands for this one, man. I'm putting it all there.
And that's actually funny. You and I got the same number 3. I got Seattle's number 3 as well. Um, I don't believe in Sam Darnold. I think that he's one of those guys that, he benefited greatly playing in Minnesota with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. He doesn't have that same complement of receivers in Seattle. Cooper Cup is an old guy, and he's starting opposite of Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like that is something I don't know how well that's going to work. They do have a running game. They do have a very solid offensive line. Defensively, this is probably the one of the best teams defensively. The problem with them is that they have no depth defensively. There's a chance that they could end up in a situation where they could get hurt and it could fall apart for them. But when it comes down to it, like I said, defensively, they're great. Offensively, I'm massively concerned about them. I will say this. They did draft Jalen Milroe. I think they
Mhm.
did it to keep him away from San Francisco. They did
Mhm.
draft Jalen Milroe. If Jalen Milroe is their quarterback at some point in the season, I can see them getting better due to the fact that one, like I said, that offensive line is built for the running game. They have a running game, and then you add the addition of a dual threat quarterback who's way more dual threat than Sam Darnold is.
100%.
And then you throw in there his arm and everything as well. He could be the X factor for that team. So for me, like I said, Seattle, they're my number 3. Who's your number 2?
Now the number 2, I went with the San Francisco 49ers for number 2. I went with them because they're getting a lot of people back from injury, like Christian
Mhm.
McCaffrey. But at the same time, they did lose. They still lost a lot of people.
Right.
Lost a lot of people. That defense, even they got Robert Saleh back. Robert Saleh's back from the Jets.
Hmm.
Got fired from the Jets last year, and now he's back defensive coordinator. But this ain't the same team, the same exact defense he had from when he was coaching it.
Right.
And I believe he's a good defensive coordinator. But if the defense is not, you can't stay on top of being a top defense team for so many years. The Ravens had their run, back in 2000, 2001, because I think they dropped drastically from the year they won Super Bowl to the following year, but they were still a good defense. I know 49ers fans, they complain, and they complain about the defense, even though they were ranked number 3 when they had what's his name? I forgot his name. The old defense coordinator, he got fired after they went to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
Forgot
you
his name.
talking about
I can't think of his name.
that was
Uh,
the old
he,
Carolina Panthers
yeah, yeah,
guy.
he was he,
It,
he was our coach. He's from Charlotte. He's from
yeah.
Charlotte. I can't think of his name right now, but yeah, they was ranked number 3. But I can say they're going to fall off. I do agree with you about the quarterback. He's definitely going to fall off. I really haven't been that big of a fan of Brock Purdy in the first place, but I think he's just always had a really good surrounding cast. You give any quarterback in the NFL, well, I won't say any quarterback. You give any mid-tier quarterback a really good roster on the offensive side of the house, they'll be pretty good. They'll definitely be good. Look at Sam Donald. I hate to keep bringing him up, but look at him.
Yeah.
You give him a good roster, he can work with it, right? But now we'll see. That's my number 2.
Uh, my number 2 is the Arizona Cardinals. Um,
Oh, okay.
I do think that offensively they have a very solid deep offense. Um, Not only like Kyler Murray can be effective, his backup is what makes me confident or comfortable with giving them
Mhm.
the number 2 slot, and that's Jacoby Brissett. I
Oh
think
yeah.
Jacoby will basically develop him well And if he fails, you got a very solid backup who can come in and be a thrower of the ball more than Kyler. You know what I'm saying? And their wide receiving core isn't a bad core. When you think about Harrison and you think about Wilson, they're actually pretty good. They actually also have a very good pair of running backs in James Conner and Trey Benson. So they're doing pretty well. Defensively, they also picked up a lot of nice pieces. So when you think about Tomlinson and like you said, Calais Campbell came back, they actually did a pretty good job. They got Xavier Collins going to the bench. They feel so confident right now. So I mean, you're talking about they actually set up there, and to me, they really molded their team a lot better. Yeah, they missed the playoffs, but they were in a lot of games last year. And all they did was improve what they already had there already. So we're talking about a very good thing. And we're talking about also there's a possibility that if Will Johnson is fully healed, they might have snagged the steal of the draft by grabbing him
Mhm.
in the second round. So that's going to be something, but I definitely got the Arizona Cardinals as my number two. I think they're going to shock a lot of people. And like I said again, because of Jacoby Brissett is their backup, and he's been a guy who's been good at developing young quarterbacks or helping develop young quarterbacks, I think he'll be a great benefit to Kyler Murray. So it sounds like you and I are on the same page with this one. Who's your
Mhm.
number one?
Yeah, my number one's gonna be the Rams. Oh, oh, by the way, the guy's name was Steve Wilkes. Could not, it just
Yes,
came in my
yes, yeah,
mind.
yeah,
In my
yeah.
mind.
Steve Wilkes, yeah.
Yeah, 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 Steve Wilkes, man. He used to be head coach for Arizona. Got fired after one
And
year.
Carolina.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had him from he came. He was interim head coach.
Yeah.
He went 6-6, and they
Mhm.
still didn't. He been on short end of stick everywhere he went, man. That's a whole nother conversation. I think he's a good coach. All right. Number one's the Rams. All right. So you know who the big addition is does he have enough left? Devontae Adams.
Mhm.
Does he have enough left? I mean, he still can separate from the receivers, but he hasn't actually had that quarterback. But now he's going to have a quarterback again. He's going to have Matthew Stafford, and that's another thing about Matthew Stafford. He's old too, and he's been having them little arm issues
Right.
here and there the last 2 seasons. But the thing is, he can still fire. He can still fire that ball pretty accurately too. Um, we're going to see how he fits in. I'm pretty sure Sean McVay, he's going to be
Mhm.
very he's going to use him in ways that no offensive coordinator or offensive coach or head coach has used him before. If he can take Jared Goff, he had him in the Super Bowl, and
Mhm.
they didn't do too well, but he got Matthew Stafford, he wins the whole thing. So so we will see. I got them as number one in NFC West.
I also got them as the number one. They have one of the biggest and best offensive lines that
Yep,
is a danger when it comes to running the ball. You're talking about Kyron Williams and also
100%.
Blake Corum. They
Yeah,
set up there and they're not playing. Then you bring on the addition of Devontae Adams, who hasn't for me been my favorite receiver because I feel that he can be a locker room cancer at times. But I think that with him being on a team like the Rams, it will make him settle a little bit more. And I mean, for him to be taking on that number two spot from Van
hmm
Jefferson, that's a huge upgrade. And you're talking about him going from number one to actually the number two receiver, which
right.
means he's going to be seeing the number two corners, and he's going to probably have a big breakout season. So that to me is what it is. Yeah, the Rams definitely set up there, and they're my number one as well. So we agreed on the number one, and number one and number three.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
now we're going to move to the NFC East. As a fan of the Commanders, this was difficult for me, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. So my number four team in the NFC East is the New York Giants. Don't get me wrong. This was hard because of the fact that I do feel that Russell Wilson still has some in the tank. Him throwing to Malik Neighbors is going to be good. Whenever he's had a number one receiver, he's always did a good job with getting the ball to that number one receiver, no matter who it is. Um, then you and you throw in Darius Slayton, Wendell. He has a very solid receiving core for himself. When it comes to the running game, Tyrone Tracy was very good. Their offensive line is shaky. Their defense is a strong defense. Paulson Adebo, the addition of Paulson Adebo at the other cornerback position was a very good addition. Um, I'm not one who they're actually going to have Abdul Carter playing the edge, well, a linebacker edge position. I don't think they understand that teams are going to run at him. He's not the biggest guy. And on top of that, we saw that even in college, he had the issue with sealing the edge. If you're going to have him play that edge, I think we're going to see a lot of teams run to that side and take advantage of that side. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. I got the New York Giants as number 4. Who's your number 4?
No surprise, we on the same page there. New York Giants. New York Giants, man. They decided to pretty much essentially draft against their future. When I say draft against their future, they didn't pick up Shador when they had they had him available.
Right.
But another reason, other than picking up, they had Russ and they got Jameis, and they got they got a lot of quarterbacks on their roster as of now. But the thing is, they finished last place in their division, but also somehow, some way, I know why this happened, but they have the toughest schedule in the entire NFL. They have the toughest schedule in the NFL, mainly because they're in a tough division. They're in
Yeah.
a tough
Yeah.
division. So they got to see those teams what 6 times out the year.
Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
I mean? So them that's the reason why I got number 4. It's a bad combination of a lot of things, and when you get the toughest schedule, hey, it's just tough luck.
All right, so all right now, with that being said, my number 3 is one that I thought about, but then when I looked at when I looked at one part of their team, I felt that it was like one of those things that it could go downhill for them. My number 3 is the Dallas Cowboys.
Hmm.
Offensively, they look good. I'm talking about when you got two of the most aggressive receivers as your 1 and 2 and CD Lamb and George Pickens. When you're talking about 1A and 1B, you're not talking about 1 and 2. You're talking about 1A, 1B. Then when you think about they signed all these other receivers, they got Javonte Williams, even though he hasn't been what people thought he was going to be coming into the NFL, they still got him. I did like their pickup of Jalen Blue, which was the running back out of Texas. He was one of my guys that I really liked in the draft. But I still feel that Dallas defensively didn't put it together. I think that coming into the season, Diggs and Overshown will be out. So it's going to be hard for them to really account for those two subtractions early on in the season. And you still have the concern of does Dak make it out the season not injured? But I will say this as well. I also do fear their backup quarterback in Joe Milton.
Hmm.
He's a Cam Newton clone. He's not as good as a passer as Cam Newton, but he's also been in the NFL for a season. So in the preseason, we'll find out if he's gotten better as a passer. I would fear the Dallas Cowboys if that goes down. Joe comes in and he becomes a huge problem, toting the ball and throwing the ball. So for me, the number 3 is the Dallas Cowboys. Who's your number 3?
We on the same page. We on the same page. Dallas Cowboys, man. Funny you bring up Joe Milton because what I was going to say, I was like, to me, it's eventually is it going to happen this year or sometime? I wouldn't say this year. He just got paid, but I would say probably next year. Next year,
Hmm.
if Joe Milton's still on the roster, I feel like that whole Tony Romo effect. You know how like
Hmm.
Dak replaced Tony Romo. That one injury that happened,
Right.
one injury happened in preseason, and the Cowboys took off. They took off from
Hmm.
that point in time. They decide, hey, we done with Tony Romo. All right, he got back up. He goes retired at the end of the season. But the Dallas Cowboys, you did mention all the good pickups. I do like the Miles Sanders pickup. Miles
Yeah.
Sanders, as long as the offensive line, but I believe Zach Martin also retired too, if I'm
Right.
not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did.
so they lost him, even though he wasn't as good as he was during Dak's rookie year, and they had that amazing offensive line that year. But Miles Sanders, he had a good offensive line and have anything. He still got something left. I saw it in Carolina last year when he was starting running back for the last game against the Falcons. He was able to get out and hold the low for all four downs, to be honest with you, and can run out the backfield. But he doesn't have to do that. He got Williams. All right,
Exactly.
so you don't have to. So that third down back, I think he can still do it. And you mentioned the issue I see with the Dallas Cowboys is whether I can't think of his name now. Oh, Pickens, if he end up getting that ball now, if they go 0-3, let's say they start out real rough at 0-2, 0-3, and he's not getting the ball the way he feel like he should, it's going to be a problem from that point.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so
And that's actually a good observation there because yeah, he has been a problem. Again, he goes from the actual number one to 1A, and still he has to build that chemistry with Dak. So yeah, I'm with you. So I know that a lot of Philly fans, a lot of Commanders fans have now peaked their ears up and are like, okay, what is he gonna say? Because he's gonna have to figure it out. This one breaks my heart because I am a Commanders fan, but I have us in the number two slot. I understand that the NFC East has not had a repeat winner in the past several years. The problem is that, when it comes to the Commanders, I think that they'll be a dangerous team. There is a chance that they could leapfrog the Eagles. The problem I have is that defensively they are still a concern. There's still a concern because we actually changed out a lot of pieces. Gone is Jonathan Allen. What does Deron Payne look like in a full season with no Jonathan Allen opposite of him? That was the captain when it came to that defensive line, and he was the guy that everybody kind of listened to. Now Deron Payne becomes that captain of that line. How does he lead this group of not only young guys but veterans as well? You also got I do like the addition of Dietrich Wise, who I had said they should have made the trade for in the off season. I mean at the trade deadline, but they couldn't do it after they made the big addition, the trade for Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore. We got to see what he looks like healthy. He was injured last year, didn't have the greatest season because of the fact that the injury and the recovery from the injury. What does he look like? Does he give us a healthy season to make us understand what's going on? And then you talk about Mikey coming. They're talking about Mikey Sanders still, but it sounds like he's actually going to be playing outside corner, not moving to the slot. They're going to have Noah Igbenogany in the slot. So you kind of still have your core together. Will Harris is the new addition. Can he honestly and really replace Jeremy Chin, who did a fantastic job for us last year? So again, we have to see, can this defense hold up, especially against the running game? So for me, my Commanders, as hard as it is for me to say it, is my number two. Who's your number two?
hey, look like we on point again. 3 for 3. 3 for 3. Let me tell you something. I'm a JD Daniels fan, man. I like him, man. I like him. I watched him. I didn't know he was going to be that good. Had
Right.
no clue he was going to be that good. And what the Commanders did during the all season, they decided to invest in that O line. They
Mhm.
invested in the O line. They picked up two key opponents, especially Larry Tunsil. I think Larry Tunsil, he was like in the 80. He was like in the 80s when it comes down to pass protection.
Mhm.
Pass protection. That's big. That is
Yeah.
big. My only concern for Jalen Daniels is him.
Mhm.
Him sometimes he gets a little reckless. He gets a little reckless. He's willing to take a hit, and he ain't that big.
Right.
He's a tall guy. He's slim. I'm worried about him getting injured.
Mhm.
Just making a bonehead play or trying to get some extra yardage when it's not needed. And that's all you can say. If that something happens to him, it's goodbye to the Commander's season from that point.
Right.
Um, oh my goodness, his receiving core still intact.
Right.
He's good there. The only shaky part is the defense part to me. That's it. Defense a little shaky. But other than that, man, I I believe Jay Daniels. I believe the Commanders can literally overcome. I would say a mediocre defense. I wouldn't say a bad
Right.
defense, but a mediocre defense. You can't be in the bottom tier defense and expect him the second year quarterback to rescue from that. Or maybe you could, but
Yeah. Well,
but he
and
did.
not only that, the schedule is a little tougher. The schedule's a
Yeah,
little tougher this year.
right.
And again, we got Debo as a compliment. I just don't see him as much of a receiver as like a Terry McLaurin, but he's still a piece that can come into play. Last but not least, of course, I got the actual what I feel is might be the repeat winner, the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't make a lot of changes. They actually kept a lot of their team together because their team was one young already, and two, I mean, you're talking about they didn't really need a lot of help. A lot of the guys that they got on their team are guys that they just slid into positions where people was gone. I do feel that on the edges they'll be a little susceptible to certain things. They went with Aziz Ojulari on one end, and they're going with Noah Smith, taking him away from being that situational pass rusher and actually putting him into the full-time role. So that's going to be something that's going to be big to look out for. But secondary wise, they're great. Offensive wise, I mean, can we not talk about how good Saquon Barkley was last year, who should have won the league MVP? Him or Lamar Jackson should have won the league MVP. But again, you're talking about if Barkley puts on the clinic he put on last year, it's going to be impossible to stop the Eagles. And again, their best defense is their offense. They run the ball so much with their quarterback, with their running back. Their offensive line is one of the best and biggest and strongest. Tyler Steen moves into the position where dang, what is his name? I can't think of his name. When he leaves, Tyler Steen, who's been on the team for 3 years now, he moves into that position. So it's almost like they probably won't even have much of a fall off at this point when it comes to the offensive line and how dangerous they are. And it's hard for me to not give them credit, especially when they're the NFL, they're the champions. And again, we see teams make drastic changes after a Super Bowl win. They practically made zero changes. So it sounds like your number one and my number one are the same.
Yep. No, number one was easy. That was out the gate. They were defending Super Bowl champs. They're not just
Mhm.
defending division champs or conference champs. They are
Yeah,
defending Super Bowl champs.
yeah,
Um, if it's 4th and 1, it's a first down. If it's 4th and 1 at the goal line, I
it's
mean
a
4th and 1
touchdown.
fourth and goal, yeah, it's touchdown. So that's it's automatic. You can't stop that. It has been stopped like a couple of times, but it's got about a 98% chance they're going to score or get a first down. But they did lose a big piece to New England, Milton Williams. He's a big piece of that interior, and you got Darius Slay. I would say James Bradbury, not so much, even because
Hmm.
he was injured towards the end of the season, anyways. He wasn't playing. Um, and then C.J. Gardner Johnson, and then you had Brandon Graham that retired. Brandon Graham, you mentioned
Right.
about the edges. So I believe they can be got on that end. Uh, maybe not the secondary per se,
Hmm.
but uh, I believe that's their weaknesses. That's about it, man. Other than that, they have a complete team. They still
Yeah.
have a complete team, and it's hard to keep your team intact after a Super Bowl year.
Yeah. I mean, because
After you win it,
and you think about it, the only real loss that they had was Kellen Moore. That's like their only real loss. And again, I don't think that even though like you talked about it before and how when a team, the Eagles lost somebody and it's like they slotted it in,
hmm
it's like they skipped a bowl. But at that point they lost two coordinators. They didn't lose one. So
right?
again, yeah, I mean, it's just hard to go against the Eagles. It's really hard to go against the Eagles at this
Yeah, it is
point.
hard. It is hard. You
Especially
know,
when
you know,
you yeah, yeah, especially when you're talking about a team that is basically still intact. Like again, we've seen it over the years. Teams go to Super Bowls and they lose almost everybody to free agency.
Mm-hmm.
They actually had a young team that was still all under contract. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's hard to not go against that. Commanders fans, please don't be mad. Trust me, this was harder than you could ever imagine because my fandom was like, ain't no way. But that doesn't mean that the Commanders didn't get better. It's just that the Eagles are just at that point where there's no drop off. So with that being said, thank y'all for coming. Like this has been great. We will be doing the AFC next. Be on the lookout for that. Again, I thank Jeremiah for showing up like he always does. Y'all tell me what y'all think. How do y'all feel about our NFC West picks and our NFC East picks? And how do you feel about them? Do y'all disagree with us? Let us know. Tell us in the comments. Tell us what's going on. How do y'all feel about it? Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and my man, Jeremiah Street. And this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.